is one of my visual poems. I'm wearing it. You're welcome. Now I'm going to read a couple of poems. I'm going to do a couple of poems, and then I'm going to do a stupid thing. Yeah. Okay. So the two poems are from a cycle called Cosmic Horror. The title is quite corny, isn't it? The title's a bit tongue-in-cheek. The poems actually aren't tongue-in-cheek at all. Or maybe they are. I've got a very complicated relationship with irony, so I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm going to read you these two poems. Fuck knows what these mean, but they mean a lot to me. So the first one is called Exhibition. A red cordon delimited the space. An exhibition of sounds and agonies from 3 metallic apertures. You had to think yourself more intensely into it. You had to unshutter, or nothing would happen. Cold in the hill's shadow. Grey snowstorm fuzz of fundamental particles whose quantum effects cannot be ignored. Impression of incantation or unscored song, looking into the apertures. Some of the observers attempted to record the event, but the temporal element compromised their data. Consequently, the cloud of symbols signified only itself. And this is called recording device. We recorded ourselves on the blood machine. It was necessary to activate our throats in unison, otherwise the ocean's marble lid would never open. This required harrowing exertions that cost us our ability to merge undetected with humanity. Our eyes fuzzed over, we became viscous and pink. The blood machine made faithful rendition of our souls, our songs, translated us as waves. Somewhere, far off inside us, our code rearranged itself into a red clock, measuring the changes.
Sometimes a lion dawns, sometimes marmalade on the floor, sometimes laughing, sometimes usually laughing, sometimes marmalade on the floor, sometimes toothpaste in the corner of my mouth, sometimes usually toothpaste in the corner of my mouth, sometimes the factory. Sometimes marmalade on the floor, sometimes the factory. Sometimes we don't speak. Sometimes we try to speak. Sometimes we try to speak. Sometimes the factory. Sometimes toothpaste in the corner of my mouth. Sometimes your skin is too smooth, it frightens me. Sometimes the factory, sometimes laughter, usually laughter. Sometimes bastard poems. Sometimes, usually, bastard poems. Sometimes the factory. Sometimes toothpaste in the corner of my mouth. Sometimes marmalade on the floor. Sometimes we don't speak. Sometimes we try to speak. Sometimes silence, sometimes rooms, sometimes little rooms next to little rooms, sometimes little rooms next to little rooms, next to little rooms, next to little rooms. Sometimes your skin is too smooth, it frightens me. Sometimes we try to speak, sometimes toothpaste in the corner of my mouth. Sometimes a factory, sometimes laughter, sometimes laughter, sometimes usually laughter, sometimes people filming sometimes laughter, sometimes bastard poems, sometimes usually bastard poems, sometimes sunsets smeared with staked blood, sometimes sunsets smeared with staked blood, sometimes toothpaste in the corner of my mouth, sometimes marmalade on the floor, sometimes we don't speak, sometimes we should try to speak.